The Barnett Shale of North Texas. It's one of the most substantial natural gas resources in North America. The majority of Chesapeake's production in the Barnett Shale comes from Johnson, Tarrant, and Dallas counties. Much of this area's gas-producing land is in cities and towns. That means a process called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, could be happening near you. Chesapeake and other natural gas production companies use fracking to extract natural gas from shale rock formations. The process lasts several days for every well at each site. Before fracking begins, the entire pad site is surrounded by protective berms. And in many urban settings, sites include tall, dense sound walls that reduce noise residents hear during the process. As the site is prepped for fracking, you may notice temporary aluminum piping installed to carry the water from a main source to the frac site. The primary ingredient used in fracking is fresh water. In the Barnett Shale, water bodies like lakes or rivers supply water used in fracking. Water can also come from city sources, like fire hydrants. No matter what the source, water flows into ponds created to hold fresh water prior to use. All water is metered and paid for. In fact, water sales are often a substantial source of income for municipalities and landowners. Once the site is ready, a workover rig lowers tubing into the cemented casing that lines the well. The tubing carries perforating guns, which create small holes in short intervals of the horizontal casing. The workover rig is then replaced by fracking equipment. Here's how fracking works. The water, collected on site in tanks, flows into a hydration unit. The unit has the ability to add gel to the water before it's transferred to a blender. In the blender, we add sand, also called proppant, and a small amount of additives that help the fracturing process. Fracking fluid is approximately 99% fresh water and sand. The blender then transfers the fluid and proppant mixture through a manifold to the pump trucks. The pumps increase fluid pressure and send the mixture back through the manifold to a frac tree where it enters the well. The fracking process is constantly monitored and controlled from a treatment monitoring van. After an initial stage of fluid is pumped downhole, the fluid's pressure creates small fractures in the shale rock, thousands of feet below surface. Next, the sand, or proppant, is added to the fluid, and the mixture is pumped into the new fractures. After the fracturing process is complete, most of the fluid returns to the surface. Naturally occurring salt water in the formation also flows to the surface. The proppant remains in the shale, holding open the fractures, so natural gas trapped in the rock formation can flow more freely into the production casing. The process of perforating and fracturing occurs several times in the horizontal portion of the well. A wireline unit is used to perforate each remaining zone, roughly 100 feet apart. Multiple zones are perforated and combined into a stage. Each stage is isolated with a composite bridge plug. The fluid and proppant are introduced only into the zone isolated for work. Zone by zone, perforations connect the entire span of horizontal production casing to the shale rock containing natural gas. This activity is happening about 1.5 miles below ground, at least 6,000 feet below private wells and the freshwater aquifer. Fluids returning to the surface flow through the manifold to storage tanks until they're disposed of according to state and federal regulations. Later, naturally occurring salt water from the formation will flow from the well as gas is produced. Natural gas is one of the most water-efficient fuels. Fracking a typical deep shale gas well uses about 2.5 million gallons of water. That may sound like a lot, but one typical golf course uses that amount in just 12.5 days. In the Barnett Shale, fracking usually happens on weekdays during daylight hours only. Chesapeake works to ensure tanker truck traffic in and out of the site follows the least disruptive routes through your area. Clean natural gas is an American source of energy, and with the Barnett Shale's abundance of this resource, it will be supplying this nation with natural gas for many years to come.